Fresh herbs are indispensable in my opinion. Every cuisine on the planet have herbs that almost define it. Usually getting your hands on the most popular herbs is as easy as grabbing them at the supermarket when you're buying your other ingredients. You can also grow and keep some yourself, but the best way to make them last longer either way is to infuse an oil with them. Sometimes you don't feel like going to the supermarket, and even when you do, you don't always use all of the herbs you bought. Having a quality extra virgin olive oil infused with toasted garlic and a couple of fresh herbs that make sense together, always on hand, mitigates all of this. And these oils are very versatile to boot. You can make salad dressings, simply dip things like pizza into them and toss some pasta and lemon juice in it for a simple, easy meal that can be made with ingredients you almost always have handy. There are a few things to keep in mind when you are making and using one though, and I will show you them in this video along with some demonstrations of how I use mine. Plus, I'll show you how to make pasta from scratch. Roll on with the food. So the first thing I recommend you do is get a bottle of this Greek olive oil from World Market, $9.99, and you get high quality extra virgin olive oil and an ornate bottle. Then peel some garlic. I personally cannot live without these little garlic peeler tube thingies. I'll link in the description. Then get a saute pan on medium to high heat with a neutral cooking oil. High heats will destroy the flavonoids in extra virgin olive oil, so we're just using normal neutral oil to toast these garlics. The reason to toast them is my odd reaction is going to bring out some more flavors from the garlic than you would get with just base garlic. After you've got that nice brown color, just turn off the heat. Use the back end of a knife to tap some oregano. This will help release some of the natural oils in the oregano. And this is probably our first sort of rule of herb oils. Herbs that are woody and twiggy generally actually need a little bit of heat to release some of the flavors locked inside them. Bear in mind that everything I'm doing now is in the residual heat of the pan. The gas is turned off. Oregano is one of those herbs that can or cannot be twiggy. Sometimes it's very delicate and sometimes it's on a really woody stem. And here I'm putting in some oregano that I actually grew myself, and this felt a bit more fragile. The stems are really skinny and frail. So I threw them in when the pan had cooled down even more. Now, parsley and basil are two of the most fragile herbs next to cilantro, the top three probably most fragile when it comes to how much heat they can withstand. So they're going in when the pan has cooled down to about 60-70 degrees or room temperature. And extra virgin olive oil is the same. That's going in into a 60-70 degree room temperature pan. And the only thing I'm going to do now is just warm it up to about 90 to 100 and then immediately take it off. Anything beyond that and you're starting to destroy some of the volatile compounds or flavor of these components. And now your oil is basically done, and it's just a case of getting it into your vessel of choice. If you do get one of these fancy bottles with a thin spout at the top, you'll need a funnel and like a chopstick or a big metal straw, anything cylindrical that'll fit to push everything down and inside it. And that's basically it, but there are still some do's and don'ts with the oil. I think it goes without saying now that you know that not to cook with this stuff. Don't cook with it. It's not for cooking. It's for finishing, drizzling, making salad dressings out of. Just get it out of your fridge about half an hour before you want to use it. If oil are. But here's another do. Do refrigerate it. Now that we have plant life and, you know, garlic and stuff like that in a bottle with oil which is itself an organic compound, there'll be some but minimal microbial activity. So it needs to be refrigerated. You can't just leave it out. And because I eyeballed the oil I put in the pan, I'm just going to top the bottle off with some more extra virgin. And there you go. And in the next couple of chapters, I'm going to show you some beautiful applications for this oil. For now, I'll just leave you with a not exhaustive list of all of the herbs that can, should be heated or not heated. But the rule of thumb really is if it feels fragile and is already very, very flavorful and the flavors come off on your fingers, then don't heat it. It doesn't need it. And others are just like big twigs of wood, and obviously they've got flavor compounds locked deep inside. But even just knowing this one single element, when you've cooked something in the future and you use herbs and it doesn't come out quite how you want it to, your application of heat could be what's causing it. The beauty about having such a flavorful oil around whenever you want it is that you can make a quick, easy meal out of basically stuff that almost everybody has in the pantry. I'm going to show you how to make pasta from scratch. And no, you don't really need 00 flour, but that is the flour I am using, and a little bit of lemon juice that I've always got in the fridge. This is also a really easy recipe to remember, so you don't need to keep, consulting your books. 12 egg yolks, 250 grams of flour. And if you want to make more, 500 grams of flour will take 24 egg yolks. Give them a whisk up before you go to add them to your flour. And now a lot of books and YouTubers and recipe guides and all that stuff are going to tell you to make a little well and pour your eggs into the middle and all that stuff. But to be honest with you, I'm not quite sure why people do this or why they still do this, or whether it's tradition or what. And obviously I'm making the biggest example of how messy it is, but it is impractical. It doesn't make any sense at all. So the way I actually do it is I just pour the bloody eggs into the bowl with the flour and then mix all that together. Once it starts to form a solid mass, you can take it out and start to knead it. If you've watched any of my pizza videos, it's the same principles that apply here. You're kneading it, you're developing the gluten in it is what you're doing. You're providing some structure. You'll feel it transform in your hand and slowly become more and more sort of pliable. And it'll kind of add this stretchy texture to it. And now it needs to be rested at room temperature for 30 minutes, like basically any product containing flour. You're allowing the gluten to relax. And when people say that you're allowing the gluten to relax, what they're really telling you is what's happening is the gluten that you've been ripping to pieces is now forming into long chains. It's becoming more structured. Think about it like as if you went to the gym and worked out and your muscles are all ripped and them repairing themselves just like that, but more tasty. After that 30 minutes, it's time to roll that bad boy out. I'm using the same flour semolina mix that I use for the pizzas to dust it. And as you can see, I'm using a little pasta roller. Link in the description. As always, it's only about $30 something this thing. And I highly recommend it. It's not just for pasta. You can make all sorts like dumpling, wonton skins and what have you. If you want to use a rolling pin, use a rolling pin. It's just going to take you a bit longer. Once you've passed it through the thickest setting once, fold it over, both sides to the middle, cut it in half, and then give it some more passes on the thickest setting. The first few might come out a little bit rough and jagged, and you just keep repeating those steps, folding it over and putting it back through, dusting it with a little bit more flour. After those first few passes where you're folding it over and just trying to get a nice clean piece, you'll be using the thickest setting, and then each time you roll it after that, go one thinner on the dial or one lower number. So this way it's getting gradually thinner and thinner and thinner. I only take it to about 2. As you can see here, it's very thin. But by all means, if you want it to be a bit thicker, stop at 3. And conversely, if you want it to be thinner, stop at, well, 1. Then if your machine comes with a handy dandy fettuccine roller, put it through that. And if you've been using a roller, just fold it over and sort of cut it with a knife into the sizes that you want. Dust it with some of your flour semolina mix. And this is also where a lot of people sort of lose the plot a little bit. They either make little nests, as you can see there, or these little bunches that I've got as well. But as long as they're properly dusted, you can make any bloody shape you want. And then they're going to stay uncovered at room temperature for 30 minutes, which this pasta you see before you has been. Bring some water to the boil, add some kosher salt and a neutral oil. Then bring it down to sort of a medium, like a low simmer, and add half of your pasta. This stuff will take literally 2 minutes, but keep testing it to see if it's got the bite that you want. You might want it a bit less bite, you might want it more bite. You just try a piece, and if you like it, is done. And then this is how easy this dish is. You just put the pasta in your bowl that you're going to eat it in. While you cook the rest of your pasta, you're going to add your lovely Gariono herb oil, a little bit of your Siciliano lemon juice, and by this time the rest of your pasta is probably ready, which goes in and you repeat steps 1 and 2, the oil and the juice. Of course, freshly cracked pepper, give it a nice toss together. And here's a little garlic bread I made earlier with some of my pizza dough. It's just basically just roasted garlic and cheese on a pizza dough. Then I've got some aged grano padano that goes into the pasta and Maldon sea salt on both. And now it's ready for mange. Put that stuff in your pasta hole. My girlfriend laughed furiously when she saw this dish and commented that it is basically a bread with a side of bread. My type of meal, and I concur. But it's easy, simple, and very, very tasty. Now I'm going to show you a balsamic vinaigrette 2.0 and make a quick salad for you. As always, I like to remove the seeds out of the tomatoes, chop up some romaine lettuce. This salad is definitely a good example of less is more. Basically, it's made with just some Dijon mustard, Grey Poupon. Have you got any Grey Poupon? 1.5 teaspoons, American teaspoons of that. 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinaigrette. What the mustard does is the mustard is going to help emulsify the dressing, much like egg yolks would. So it's going to help keep it all together. And then our flavorful oil goes slowly into the bowl while you whisk it. Go as slow as you can and keep taking little rests to allow it to all come together. The last thing you want to do is split it. Here I'm putting in a teaspoon of a roasted garlic that I keep in the fridge. I've always got roasted garlic in the fridge, and I recommend you do too. Some Maldon sea salt, and the quantity of oil basically is up to you. I keep tasting it in the shots that you see now and seeing it and getting it to this consistency that you see right before your very eyes. So I really don't have a measurement for the oil, but I suggest you just keep whisking it in until it becomes a consistency that you like. And no salad would be complete without some massive chunky croutons. I'm using some of my patented pizza dough. If you want to learn how to make my pizza doughs, then head over to my master pizza videos. This really is just 2 cheeses, grana padano, provolone picante, and some paprika sprinkled on top. That's it. A little bit of olive oil and you've got a big crouton. The romaine has been cleaned and spun. The tomatoes have been added to said romaine, and then I'm just chucking in a bit of spinach that I've always got in the fridge, some lovely fresh boar's head mozzarella, and then drizzle the old drizzy dressing into your big lovely bowl. And then I've got some of the grana padano that I'm always using. It's from Sam's. It's a 20-year-old cheese, and it's bloody lovely. Mix it all up. I don't need to tell you how to do that. Always add some more sea salt to your salad. A lot of people will skip or don't even know about doing that, but you should salt your salad. It'll bring all the flavors of all of the components together. And the salt that's in the dressing just simply isn't enough to do that. Then it's a case of putting it on a plate and then from the plate into your mouth. This salad is actually a lot like panzanella salad, except for the lettuce, obviously. But the oil with the garlic, basil, and oregano in it is a great way to make any Italian tasting salad dressing. And you can add some egg yolks to it if you want to make it a more of a creamy dressing as well. I do hope this video was of a lot of use to you, and I do thank you very much for watching it and any of my videos. If you haven't subscribed, please consider it and leave a like and a comment. Let me know what you would do with your oil, I suppose. Pretty soon I'll be making some members only content and starting up channel memberships, so check that out as well. Thanks for watching. See you next time.